The James Show Podcast.
We're starting with terrible news here. Charlie Kirk has been shot. Utah Valley State University. I've never heard of this university, but I've been digging furiously. This just happened minutes ago. And I already have like 18 different pieces of context I want to try and throw on this. First of all, I think maybe a lot of you don't know who Charlie Kirk is. If you're terminally online like me and your children, you know who he is. He's in all these viral videos. He is the guy that's the face of Turning Point USA, and he goes to college campuses, and he'll speak at their events, in an auditorium to the local chapter of Turning Point, which is sort of a conservative college campus organization. But he also does the thing that most of us see is he sets up a tent in the quad, and he has a microphone on a stand, and anyone can come up and ask him anything about any topic, and he'll debate anyone. And it's really just turned into sort of this impromptu thing where mostly people who disagree come up, try and tell him how awful he is or debate him on some sort of subject. And I don't know. I've never sat down and watched it for like an hour, but there's these little clips where, he's like just roasting someone. And it's one of those guys. It's like some people just like watching folks from the other side get roasted. And I get that, And so sometimes they add sound effects to it, and it'll show up in like TikTok, and it'll show up in just like these little 40-second clips where you just tell someone off, and there's like, another libtard roasting, something like that. So that's his bit. He's a little more harsh about it than I am. But he's been on this show plenty of times. If you've listened to the James Show for a long enough time, you've heard him. His sound clips make it on my show. He's been shot. Now, already we have people who have shared clips of him getting shot on YouTube. I don't know how long it's going to be up. I pulled the audio and I had to stop it. It's right before the shooting happens. And I stop it right after when they start running, and there's no cuss words in it. So you can kind of hear the shot. Now, let me set the scene for you. He's in some sort of, not just a quad. It's a giant area that's probably comparable in size to the Dos Equis Pavilion. And it looked like it was about full, meaning there was 2,000 people, it looks like, in this scenario. And the video is from really far away. But there's a white tent, just like the same ones you would take when you go to, the soccer field and watch some games all day, and you're just going to set up. So it's got the 4 long legs, and it's just a part on top. And it looks like he's doing the thing I just described, where he's sitting in a chair, he's got a microphone in his hand, and people are coming up talking to him. South Park just recreated this last month. They were making fun of Charlie Kirk, and they were doing the thing where he asks the question, and then he puts the microphone down, and then he picks up the water bottle, and then he drinks it, and then he picks up the mic again, and then puts it down and drinks the water. And they had his mannerisms down perfectly. But if you can see, there's what looks like thousands of people there. Now, I'm not going to play the video over here on the stream, but I'll play the audio. I feel comfortable playing that. But in the video, you see him. He's talking. He's kind of laughing. He's a big dude. He's 6'5". And then you hear the bang, at the same time he kind of convulses. And then he sort of slides off his stool back into the side a little bit. So here it is.
Counting but not counting game violence.
Oh, my God.
Go, run.
We have a problem. See, this is why a couple weeks ago, or what was that, last week, in the Minneapolis school shooting, there was a lot of people who were trying to make it, we have a problem with trans community. No, that wasn't about the trans. It's just lefties, period. Sometimes it's a Free Palestine guy that's setting people on fire with a homemade flamethrower. Sometimes it is a person who has some gender issues, shooting up a Christian school, killing kids while they're praying. Sometimes it's the guy they have in custody. This is a preliminary. This could be wrong. This is just what I heard Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins saying right before I turned my show on. Is the guy that looks like is in custody is an older white guy, bald. So Yeah, I don't know which flavor of leftism is doing this, whether it's on a train or at Utah Valley State University or praying in a Christian school or on the DART platform. But we have a problem with various branches on the Democrat constituency tree committing acts of violence. And I'm tired of being slandered for it. 800-288-9227. This is Tony in Aledo. You're on WBAP.
Hi. I called. Everything you just said, I totally agree with. But when you were saying Charlie is harsh and kind of smart aleck or whatever, I don't ever feel like he's that way. I feel like he is so considerate to the people like who you're talking about, all these lefties that come up and just try to slam him. But he is so reasonable with everything. And generally, I get that he's kind of got a little uppity about himself, but it's because he's so smart. He's just so stinking smart.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely devastated over this. I'm trying to get home so I can watch. I've been getting phone calls because, we all listen to him, and he just says what we all are thinking, common sense.
Well, I'm glad you're pushing back on that, because I'm going to play the soundbite here, which I think is it's not abrasive to you and me, Tony, but this is what I'm talking about when he's a little harsh. More harsh than the average bear. He was talking about the Charlotte stabbing. I played this on Monday's show, so I already had it pulled. But this is what they're upset about him for right now.
White Ukrainian refugee was murdered just because she was white. Everybody knows that, obviously. If a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice, law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose national sweeping political changes on the whole country. Instead, Megan Basham, no one seems to care when a white woman gets stabbed to the death.
Yeah, so that's I think that's what they're upset about him now for, because there was a whole bunch.
Though I agree with him, he's right, and I'm tired. I look at George Floyd. And what happened with that, and now we're sitting here, and the whole thing, I agree with it, and I think it's absolutely, we got to start speaking out and doing, I don't really protest, but I am so mad about this. I can't,
You should be. You should be.
God, his family and his kids, and he just fights for the righteous.
How many of us have to get shot and stabbed and then shot, and then our kids shot when they're at school, and our daughters stabbed when they're on the train, and our grandmothers are hit with a flamethrower in Colorado for having the wrong opinion? Mark Lee, Van Camp, and Robbins were the first ones to tell you that Charlie Kirk got shot right before the James show started. They were on it immediately. If you're not already a fan, you should check those guys out. They just came over from our sister station. They're my new lead-in show. And they're on 11 to 2 now. And I feel the same way they do. They're happy-go-lucky guys that just all of a sudden, it got turned off when he saw this. Charlie Kirk's a right-wing conservative activist and an influencer. Goes to college campuses, debate college kids, puts it online, fun little videos of debate. He's an outspoken advocate for America, for Christianity, for the Constitution. Of course, that makes him the worst person ever, literally Hitler, in the eyes of some people. And you may have heard that Van Jones audio where he's like, hey, hurt people, and he's sort of making excuses for the guy who did the stabbing in Charlotte. He was responding to Charlie Kirk's comments on that on CNN. When that comment's made, he's a guy that's in the court of public debate. He's the main player, and he just died for it. Steve sent me a close-up video from someone else who was recording it on their phone when it happened. They're not reporting that he's dead, but I don't see any way he survives that. He got hit right in the neck. Blood was gushing. He's not going to make it. Charlie Kirk. It's not official. It's not reported. But I'm just bracing for the report that he's no longer with us based on his politics. Well, that's a tough lead in for my next guest who's coming back on the James Show. Jeff Gilson, welcome back. Your thoughts on Charlie Kirk being shot and probably killed?
Well, James, just let me know if you can't hear me. carefully because we're going to have some technical problems. I am, by definition, a liberal American, but I like Charlie Kirk because his main message was we have problems in this country and we need to talk. If we do not talk, these things will flare up. And I read that he was shot on Utah Valley University campus doing what he does, which is going out and talking to people who don't agree with him in order to get them to talk back. I hope he is not dead, but if he is, there is, in a sense, no better way to go. He is trying to resolve problems, and as a liberal American, I try to do the same thing. I've always admired Charlie Kirk for that.
Yeah, man, it's tough to just comment on something that happened a few minutes ago that's this emotional, but I was having you on to talk about something that's equally emotional, the stabbing of the young Ukrainian woman in Charlotte. And, you know, it seems like there's some people in the United States that aren't big fans of their neighbors.
Well, you know, this is exactly what Charlie is trying to avoid. This is continuing violence. And it's very difficult to talk about specific circumstances. In the case of Charlotte, I'm kind of down the road. I live in South Carolina, so I'm a few hundred miles away from Charlotte, but a little bit closer than you. And it's difficult to talk about the specific circumstances. We're told that it was a homeless person with mental health issues. But in general, violence is not the answer. But since we are here in a moment almost remembering Charlie Kirk, I'm going to go somewhere Charlie Kirk might go, which is somewhere controversial, because I've watched the video of the Charlotte stabbing, not the stabbing itself, but the aftermath. And it is worth every listener going and watching the video afterwards. Be carefully, James, because I don't want to inflame realist. As a liberal American, I'm a realist. What was shocking to me was that after she was stabbed, the people around her did nothing. You know, reports are that she collapsed and died 15 seconds after she was stabbed. I'm not a medical person, but I don't know that someone applying something to the wounds might not have staunched the wounds. But they did nothing, absolutely nothing. And this is the point where it becomes controversial, and I pick my words carefully. Every single person around her was black. A black man stabbed her, and everyone else on the subway train that was black did nothing. I find that disturbing. These are not liberal American values. And I use liberal in the classic sense, from the same language sources, liberty and libertarian. You're free-flowing, free to do what you want, provided you don't cause harm to anyone else. And this is not a liberal American value. Not only committing the violence, but then allowing someone to die either due to the color of their skin, or their age, or their gender, or some other demographic factor. These are not American values. We need a conversation in this country about many difficult things, which Charlie was doing. And one of those conversations needs to be about the communities in this nation that have different values. And if that conversation goes where it goes, it goes where it goes. And if it says, for example, the American nation has dealt the African American community really badly. We have treated them with such harm through slavery and plantation horror and segregation that there needs to be massive restorative action to make them feel a welcome part of the American nation, and that's where we go. But equally, if the answer is there are some folks who just feel that they have the right to do what they want because their great-grandparents were treated badly, then that's where it ends up. Or do we end up somewhere else, which is saying there are members of a community in this country who have a culture of violence and nihilism, but the conversation needs to be held.
Jeff, great words. I really, I think we needed that. Thank you, sir. This is tough. And look, Jeff, I mean, the only thing I even am in the gray area about what you said is, should we really be watching these videos? I mean, I want to, and you know, it kind of is motivation and is sort of realism, but I mean, does everybody need to watch these videos? Because I mean, putting that kind of stuff in your head, it it has negative consequences.
You've gone somewhere else. And let me just say, by the way, James, in terms of things being isolated in incidents or not, I currently live in South Carolina. 20 years ago, I lived in Dallas. I lived in Little Five Points. I would regularly catch what was then a new subway downtown and go and party in the West End. And I never for one moment felt unsafe. What we see on that video is horrific. Now, there is a whole different question. I start with road accidents where people are reporting on road accidents that have just occurred. I know of somebody whose husband left the house and they were watching the television 5 minutes later and they watched their husband being dragged dead from a car in an accident 3 streets over. Should the press be reporting that? That's the First Amendment issue. Should we be watching? Probably not, but to be perfectly honest, James, it's one of the reasons, for instance, we watch NASCAR. No one ever watched, and I haven't got an English accent, but I like NASCAR. We don't watch NASCAR to see somebody win. We watch it for the train wrecks, for the car wrecks, rather. I don't think you're ever going to get away from that. But it is something we probably shouldn't do. I don't think the press should. I think the press should introduce their own rules about what they report and about what they broadcast. And I think we should all operate our own morals and values.
Jeff, we got to run. We're out of time. Where do they find you online?
They find me at Jeff Gilson on Facebook. That's GEOFF. You'll find me there. I write about what I speak about.
Not looking good for our friend Charlie Kirk. He was shot right before the show started. I've now seen some close-up video. It's a bad shot, y'all. They're not declaring him dead yet on both Fox News and MSNBC. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk shot at a Utah event, but it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. So, I mean, I was going to start today's show by saying we need to have a serious conversation about where violence is coming from in this country. And you notice I only have to tweak my notes just a little bit. I don't have to take it back and be like, well, I guess I was wrong, or, well, instead of that, let's talk about this. No, it's pretty much the same conversation, isn't it? Same conversation that I wanted to have yesterday, we need to have today. We just need to have it even more. Why Charlie Kirk? Why now? Couple answers for that. Charlie Kirk is a guy who has been successful in converting young people, and he gets a lot of the credit for why this Gen Z cohort is the most conservative we have seen college-age kids and younger, high school kids, in our entire lives. Why now? Well, Charlie Kirk's been at the forefront of the very heated debate, whether it's a trans issue, whether it's an immigration issue, or whether it's a race issue. He's a guy that doesn't pull any punches and has been a lightning rod for criticism. But also, Charlie Kirk, more recently, on Sunday night, turned on his camera, did a quick little video blog, and was one of the first people to point out what a lot of people were thinking, but just, I don't know if they weren't confident or didn't have enough evidence, but he was saying the Charlotte stabbing was about race.
White Ukrainian refugee was murdered just because she was white. Everybody knows that, obviously. If a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose national sweeping political changes on the whole country. Instead, Megan Basham, no one seems to care when a white woman gets stabbed to the death.
Now, if Charlie Kirk's wrong, wouldn't you just say, listen, he's getting ahead of it himself here. We don't know. It may have been racially motivated. It may not have, but we don't have all the evidence. So I'm going to withhold judgment. No. Van Jones came on CNN. When was this? Monday night. And they played that clip from Charlie Kirk on Abby Phillips' show. Van Jones said a couple things.
We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass. Even when you had a white police officer murder a black man on live television, the whole world saw, there were no sweeping changes. In fact, not one law was passed at the federal level.
Yeah, take off at the federal level. Is that statement still true? Of course not. Yeah, no one made any changes over George Floyd. No, there was no sweeping reaction. There weren't riots for weeks and months on end. There weren't defunding the police campaigns. There wasn't a big upheaval and change in the patrolling patterns of cops. No, no one changed anything. That's right. We just set buildings on fire for 6 months until the election. Sure, not believable. But he continued the criticism of Charlie Kirk. You know, the other clip you've probably heard on every other show you've listened to in the last couple of days from Van Jones, where he's sympathetic to the stabber guy in Charlotte. He's responding to Charlie Kirk in that when he says hurt people hurt people.
It's not about cashless bail or no cashless bail. It's about the fact that we don't know how to deal with people who are hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people hurt people. What happened was horrible, but it becomes an opportunity for people to jump on bandwagons. And then for someone like Charlie Kirk, he should be ashamed of himself. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him.
You should be ashamed. Congrats. The rhetoric is getting people shot. And it's not getting people shot on both sides. The violence is almost all in one direction. Donald Trump got shot. Charlie Kirk got shot. Teslas got keyed and firebombed. Their dealerships got firebombed. Joel Osteen's church in our own backyard got shot up. Catholic schools in Nashville and Minneapolis have been shot up. Free Palestine protesters killed 2 Jewish diplomats outside a museum in D.C., made their own little the homemade blowtorch and were setting elderly Jews on fire in Colorado. Another one decided he's going to get behind the wheel of a car and run over as many people as he could on Bourbon Street. The left has a murder problem. Oh, I'll say it. The left has a murder problem. And coming up next, we're going to honor Charlie Kirk. I'm serious. I don't think he's going to make it. I'm going to give you the best Charlie Kirk soundbite you've ever heard in your life, and you will understand why this guy is public enemy number one to the woke left. And it just cost him his life. The only new info I have is Fox is now reporting that the shot came from around 200 yards away. The scene is all clear now. We now have helicopter, or this might be a drone footage of the scene now, but it looks like to be sort of a grassy amphitheater, about the size the Dos Equis Pavilion. It's all clear now. They got everyone out of there. Charlie Kirk was doing his thing under a tent with the microphone, entertaining a crowd of what looked like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. That could be 2,000 people. Shot. Hit him in the neck. Blood all over the place. He's not been declared dead, but it's not looking good. Tell you what, let me take a couple calls, and then there's this 5-minute clip. Is that okay if I play a 5-minute clip of this guy? Because if we did lose him, this is what I want him to be remembered for. I've played it on the show, not in its entirety, but broken down in a couple clips on 2 different occasions. But I don't think he's going to be with us. I think we're about to get the report soon that he's been declared officially dead. And I don't know. We'll just work through it together. There are no good words for something like this. Cassie Argyle, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I guarantee you this was a Democrat, because when they don't get their way, and that's by just any old Joe not agreeing with them, this is what they do. They can't handle it in a normal, decent, humane way. They have to kill. They have to shoot. They have to stab. Whatever they need to do to eliminate you. That just goes to prove they are the ones that we need to get rid of. It's just, what are we going to do? Just keep sitting back and just biding time as they kill off people that don't agree with them? No, we need to get rid of them because they're the ones that are trying to destroy our country.
We need 5 more people to rise up and replace this guy. For every Charlie Kirk that they take out, there's going to be 5 more that do this. It's not going to work. Unless we let it.
I think
unless we let it work.
I think it will. And as far as the stabbing, that guy, those wussy men that were there in that train that walked away, all that tells me is that's even more reason why we all need to be packing. Because this guy got away with taking a young girl's life.
Right, and it's not a race thing because we need to be packing because it might be someone with the racial grievance. It might be someone with the gender grievance. It might be someone with the Palestinian grievance. It might be some flavor of lefty. I know, but I'm saying it's not just confined to that. It could be someone shooting at our kids while they're trying to have mass. It could be someone who's upset about the environment. Whatever it is, it's a flavor of leftism, and we can't police it for them. Jamie, Hickory Creek, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James. I'm going to put blame where it actually falls. It falls on the politicians and it falls on the media. Because realistically, I mean, every time there's something going on, within 15 minutes, they're out there projecting their BS and telling everyone that doesn't pay attention to anything that it's their fault.
You know what I don't like about that? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying if you just focus on the politicians and the media, then a lot of guilty people are going to escape unpunished. Because it's not just them. It's all the people in academia. It's all the trolls online who pass this stuff along. And when I say trolls online, I'm not talking about some disparate third party. I'm talking about, I don't know your specific situation, but like your sister-in-law or your old roommate or some of your college friends or that witch that your best friend married from school, or I don't know. There's a lot of people who embrace this hyperbole that Charlie Kirk is literally a Nazi, that James Parker and the people on WBAP are literally Hitler. And the hyperbole is getting people killed, and they're not stopping. You thought they would stop after Trump got shot, but they didn't. And so it's going to keep happening until they get called out. You know what? Calling people Nazis should be viewed like calling people the N-word. It's just something we don't accept in society. It is an insult that goes too far. And it shouldn't be accepted. And you can say, well, you know, 6 stones may break my bones. Well, yeah. Well, now it's getting people hurt. Now it's getting people killed.
Exactly.
Love it. All right. Thank you, Jamie. 800-288-9227. If you want to jump in, we now have a couple lines open. But let me squeeze in one more call. And then you're going to hear 5 minutes of the best Charlie Kirk clip ever coming up in the next segment. Andrew, Fort Worth, you're on WBAP.
Hey, I wanted to call to say I find it very odd that the left has this thing going on for like gun control, violence, and all that stuff, but it's mainly them that are hurting our right-wing politicians, people, and just innocent civilians. I don't see why. I don't see them like on CNN saying anything about Charlie Kirk or that lady that got stabbed in great detail like we do. I just find it very sad. You know, it's not right.
Well, yeah, and they didn't call for knife control when the lady got stabbed. They didn't call for gun control after Trump got shot. They're probably not going to call for gun control after Charlie Kirk got shot. Good observation. Another good call. Charlie Kirk shot at Utah Valley University just moments before the show started. You heard it first on our new lead-in show, Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. You could see those guys happy-go-lucky like I am. It just, boom, sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Because, you know, Markley, Van Camp, Robbins, me, we're kind of adjacent to Charlie Kirk. We go out sometimes with a microphone and try and get audio from people in the street. I stopped doing that. You get enough threats, and you think, you know what, I've got 4 kids. I don't need to end up getting beat up or stomped or killed or stabbed or... You know, even if I just like get punched and I fall and hit my head on the concrete, maybe I'm a vegetable after that, or I have some sort of brain damage, or I can't do my job as well, and it's not worth it. Charlie Kirk's gone out there facing the danger, facing all kinds of threats, and it just cost him his life. You'll hear the greatest 5 minutes of Charlie Kirk coming up next, and you'll understand why some of these people want to take him out. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.